And it's Thursday, and for those of you who don't know, Thursday's like my Friday, because I don't work Fridays, so always a good day. Beautiful day. It's 15 degrees here in southern British Columbia, which will make it 59 in northern BC. It's going to be a hot one. You can already see that there isn't a cloud in the sky, and everything's looking really summery, and we like that. So I really was wondering this morning, what was my word of the day going to be? And I'm still not 100% sure. As we go along, I think it'll come to my mind. But I did want to talk about friendship in terms of what I value in my friends. And I say that because, as you know, I went out to dinner last night with a friend of mine who I don't see more than a few times a year. You know, maybe 2, 3 at the most. And yet I know that if push came to shove, she would be there for me. And so, just want to move the angle here. It's looking a bit strange this morning for some reason. Anyway, so it's a really interesting thing about what is your requirement. Maybe that's an unusual word to have. Requirement. Let's have that as our word for the day. What is your requirement from a friend? Well, I don't know what yours is, but I need a couple of really strong characteristics in a friend. I'm a pretty independent, self-driven sort of person, as you all know. There's nothing new there, right? You know that. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing the way that I'm doing it if that were not true. However, one of my biggest failings is that I get so tied up in the day-to-day of what I'm doing with Dear Mama Sal that I don't have time to do what I need to do. Okay, I don't know if any of you have ever read the book called The E-Myth. E for Edward and then Myth, M-Y-T-H. It was a book written some time ago, and it talked about entrepreneurs. And one of the problems with entrepreneurs is that they work in the company rather than on the company. And I always remember when I read that book, I really related to it. So, why is this important in relation to your life or my life at this time? Well, what I need from a friend is somebody who understands me and the way in which my mind works well enough to be able to help me. And also to know that I need my feet tied to the floor on a certain number of things if I'm going to take the next step. I know that sounds strange. Let me give an example of this. Marnie last night, in the middle of our conversation, said to me, "What can I best help you with?" I mean, you know, we were talking about how exciting it was, and we will probably hit 250,000 views today or tomorrow. I mean, that's pretty exciting. And she was just, as soon as she heard that, and I said the surprising thing and the interesting thing is that the journey between 250,000 and 500,000 will be shorter. Because the more numbers you have, the quicker that journey takes. You know, it's amazing. If you do if you understand extrapolation. And so when she heard that and some of my fears around it, including how will I keep up with answering everybody, and how will I do this and how will I do that. Now, it's not that I'm being negative, it's just I need to think about that, because if I don't think about it, I won't be able to plan and get a system in place that works. And bless her heart, that one of the first things that Marnie said, well, you'll have a support group of people who understand what needs to be done and help you do it. And I went, wow, that's friendship. And then she said to me, all right, Sal, your question always is, if you had a magic wand, what would you ask for? And so in terms of where this next step is between where you are and the next goalpost, which would be 500,000 views, she said, what do you believe that you most need to do? And I said, well, other than the obvious steps that I know about, I said, there's one thing that's really nagging me, actually two. And I said, one of them is to get my book, The Problem Solver, in a format that I can share with the peeps. And she obviously knows about The Problem Solver. She's got a copy, and she knows all about it. So she said to me, what's it going to take to do it? And I said, well, quite honestly, it's a bit like writing it. All I need is some time away with the trailer and somewhere quiet where I can just sit and input. And then I will take that input and hand it over to somebody who knows what they're doing graphically, and we'll put it into a format that works. And so Marnie, being who she is, she really listens, right? And that's another thing of a good friend. They really listen to how you're saying it and where the hesitations are. So she said, do you have the person that you will send this to? And I said, no, but I do have the person that I will ask. Who do I need to send this to? Yeah, it's the 6 degrees of separation. I don't know if any of you know that. They always say you're sort of this many steps away from anything you want to get. You just need to know where the first step is. So I know a person sitting in Toronto who's very well connected, and he will undoubtedly know somebody who can do it. Will it cost me a lot of money? Probably. Will it be worth it? Yes. Because it will help a lot of people, hopefully. So then she said to me, okay, so just in case getting the input done is the next major step. And I said, yep, that's the next major step. So she said, what do you need to do to make that possible? I said, I need to find out how many holiday days I've got left. And then she said, what would you like to have as your deadline? When would you like to get it done? I said, by the end of the summer. And she said, what does the end of the summer look like to you? I said, by September. Mid-September. She said, okay, fine, I'll email you on Friday and find out how many holiday days you got left. And where you're going. Now that is a friend. Because she knows me well enough to know that I do keep my commitments. And therefore, she knows she just needs to get me talking my commitment and come up with a goal in my mind. And now what she will do is hold me to my commitment. She will not be interested in my excuses. She will not be interested in anything else. She just keeps saying to me, but you wanted this done by mid-September and you need to get off your ass and go do it. And I love her for that. However, payback is a wonderful thing. So then I turned to her and I said, well, here's what I need in exchange. And she looked at me and she said, what? And I said, well, you know, you get to help me with this, and I need to help you with something. Oh no, and that's right. And she said, oh, I've got something I need you to help me with. And I said, okay, fine. And I listened, and she told me what she needed help with. And I said, it would be absolutely my pleasure to help you do that. And it's actually a great honor what she wants me to help her with. So that's fine. But then I said to her, no, I have one other thing. And she said, what's that? And I said, you have until mid-September to write down everything that you need in a partner. And she said, what? And I said, you have until mid-September to write down everything you need in a partner. And I want to see the list. And why? And she looked at me and said, why? I said, because I've known you a long time and you have punished yourself enough. And I've been very patient and I have watched you long enough. Enough is enough. You deserve more. And you have to understand that Marnie had something heartbreaking, really heartbreaking, happened to her about 14 years ago, where somebody she deeply loved was severely injured. And she gave her morning, noon and night to helping him recover from this trauma, and his payback was that he married his physiotherapist. Now you can imagine the heartache in that. And Marnie, as you know, is the most beautiful person, and she's a beautiful person inside and out. And so she has lived a very successful life, don't get me wrong. But you can imagine the walls that she put up to protect herself after that one. And so I said to her, it's enough now. It's really enough. And, you know, whatever reason you had for punishing yourself, whether you saw yourself as stupid, whether you saw yourself as naive, or whatever it was that you bought into, you know, this just happened, it's over, it's time for you to move on, and you deserve to move on and be happy. And I said, as your friend, I'm going to start helping you in that process. So, it's really important that you have somebody in your life who has the strength of character to be that sort of a friend. And, you know, Marnie and I are very strong women. We're both very strong women. We're both very capable and very, you know, smart and do all sorts of things. I don't want to be too egotistical here, but you understand what I'm saying. But, you know, every now and then we need like a manager in our life, somebody to pick up the 2x4 and go clunk. And Marnie has always been great doing that for me. Very practical person, and I value that, value it highly. So I just wanted to tell you some fun things that happened during the meal, because it's always fun when we're together. We have very well, very exciting meals, you know, very interesting. We're always all over the place, very fast, and lots of conversation about all sorts of things. So she started off and said, okay, this one's from my mother. I just said, what? She said, my mother. She said, oh, you're going to see Sal. Run this by Sal, see what she thinks. Which was really funny. When you think that her mother is really somebody that I ask questions of. So apparently this thing had gone down in her life and she really wanted my view on it. So I gave it. And then what I did in turn, because I've got that sense of humor, is I actually said, okay, well, this one's for your mom. Tell her that, you know, she doesn't get a freebie from me, then I'm going to get one back on her. So I asked a question for her mother, and that was fun. Then an interesting thing happened. I went to the washroom, and this is a beautiful old building, probably early 1900s, where we had dinner. And the ladies' washroom is probably 10 foot off ground level, if no, not even that. Maybe only 6 foot off ground level, I would say. And it was really scary. When I went into the ladies' washroom, the window was wide open. And I don't know, I don't normally have that sort of fear. But it suddenly struck me that was very dangerous, because anybody could climb in that window and you'd be totally vulnerable, because you're in a washroom. You know, not a busy one. It's not like a big nightclub or anything. It's a very small, elite little eating place, fine dining. So not sort of, you know, you're not talking about a bar where there are people coming in and out of the washroom all the time. I felt extremely vulnerable. Well, anyway, I sort of contemplated that for a while, and then I went to go and wash my hands, and the water out of the faucet was coming out, you know, in drips. It just didn't have any volume or pressure at all. It was actually quite funny. So, of course, being who I am, I walk back to the table and I go, got a couple of questions. And so she says, okay, what are the questions? And I said, well, the first one is, did you have any concerns about, you know, the window being open in the ladies' washroom? And she said, no. And I said, you didn't try and close the window, which I did, as it so happened. And she said, no, I never really thought about it. And I said, well, here's why I don't like it. And she said, that's a very good point. From a security point of view, from a safety point of view, you're right. And I said, yeah, I've got to think about that. Anyway, and then I said, well, how did you like, you know, the gushing water to wash your hands? And of course, she cracked up. Really funny. But the reason I'm telling you this story is we're having this conversation. And then out of my corner of my eye, because we're out on the patio, out of the corner of my eye, I see something move. And I said, Martin, I need you to turn very, very quietly, you know, don't make it too rapid a movement, but turn and look to your right and look down about 15 feet away from you. And I said, and before you get a fright, I just need to tell you, it's black, has a long tail, and called a rat. So, now that's not the sort of thing you expect to find when you're out on a patio of a very fine dining establishment. But to be fair, we're also in an open part where they have lots of outdoor banquets and things, and you know, I understand there are possibilities these things happen, but it was it was, yeah, we sort of called the waiter over and we said, you know, we just want to check whether you're aware that you have an extra visitor, an extra client. And the guy said, no. I said, yeah. I sort of pointed in the area and I said that the guy at the bottom of the outdoor heater. Well, I thought the guy was going to die. Very, very funny. Now, could I have jumped up screaming and all sorts of things? And I go, yep. But the truth was, in the time that we had that discussion, the little guy ran off into the, undergrowth and went on with his life. But in that moment, it was incredible. So, my wish for you today, my wish for you is to identify who it is in your life that can hold you accountable for stuff. And what is it that you have been seriously procrastinating about recently that you actually could do with some help on? And can you go and have a meal with that person and ask for help? And if you can, then that would be a good thing. Think about it. And if you'd like to talk to me about it, give me some feedback about what it is that you've been procrastinating about that you really need to get done. But it's not fun to do, or it's too overwhelming to do, or whatever. And I love it when you guys write and tell me about these stories, because it helps so many other people. They see your story and it triggers something for them. So let me know what it is and what you plan to do about it. And, of course, let me know how it works out for you. This is Dear Mama Sal, with just a little bit of wit and wisdom, saying bye-bye for now.